Well, it's obviously been a hugely traumatic day or few days, really, and I can't even begin to imagine what the families are going through. And my heart is very much with them as they read out their victim personal statements today. We've obviously heard some of the details of the attack and what happened, and it all is just incredibly distressing. This was a deeply, deeply, evil individual who has committed just the most atrocious act. And, as I say, my heart is with the families of what they're hearing today.
We're in the middle of victim impact statements at the moment. We're just hearing from one of the dance teachers involved, and we've been seeing CCTV footage in court as well throughout the course of the afternoon, including body cam footage worn by officers who were first to arrive at that scene. Perhaps you could talk to us about those first responders, because it wasn't just police. It was paramedics arriving on that scene. And when we talk about, as Leanne, the dance teacher said, trauma, the one word she is using to describe the attack, this whole aftermath, that will have applied to them as well. The ripple effect of this is huge.
Absolutely. And, I would like to pay tribute to those first-line responders, as you say, individuals from all the blue light services who were there on scene, who were greeted with just, shocking scenes and having to go in and do their job, which they did incredibly well. But also since then, the police investigation teams, the individuals in custody who have had to manage this individual, and we've heard already some of the things he said while he was in custody. The investigation teams have been, viewing deeply distressing materials, and as you say, this will absolutely have an impact on them, and something that they are going to have to deal with it and process for a long time. So I'm very grateful to them for the work they've done and their resilience and commitment in trying to get justice ultimately for the families.
So many organisations in the spotlight over the failings that have been outlined this week. Axel Rudakubana, known to local authorities, known to the police, mental health professionals, Prevent, known to so many different organisations. And the question people want answered, I mean, I heard this described earlier on by a former Merseyside police inspector as a watershed moment. What will be learnt from this in terms of the failings? Axel Rudakubana was in contact with police at least, it says in court today, at least 10 times over carrying a knife. And you put it into the bigger picture, the bigger report we're now learning about how he was known with other agencies. It is a huge failing. He was in the net, but nobody did anything about it.
Well, as you say, we know that he had contact with a number of different agencies, across the Northwest. And, I welcome the inquiry that's been announced, because people rightly have questions. People are angry. I am angry. I want to know how something like this could happen in our wonderful community. So I think it's right that the inquiry has been called, and I'm hopeful that will give us some of those answers to try and understand if anything could have been done differently, what were the lessons, what are the lessons learned, and importantly, any recommendations or actions that come out of that they will be delivered on. And certainly within my role, if there's any actions that need to be taken on board, I will make sure that they are responded to. But as you say, it's an incredibly, difficult, complicated situation, lots of agencies involved, and I'm hopeful the inquiry will give us some clarity around some of that.
Yeah, you want clarity and you want action. What do you think would best come out of a public inquiry to allow you to effectively do your job better, to give you more power? Because as I said, the local police force coming into contact with the same young man 10 times about carrying a knife. What was it you couldn't do, and what was it you hope a public inquiry will enable you to do?
Well, as I say, it's hard for me to comment on any of that detail because we don't yet know the answers to that. And that's the role of the inquiry, is to ask those questions, find out, what contact they had with, different police forces, with different agencies, what happened at this contact, what decisions were being made, how are agencies, organisations talking to each other? Could any of that been done differently? I don't have the answers to that right now. That's why this inquiry is so important, so we get a real understanding of what happened, what went wrong, and how we can fix it. And so that's what I'm hoping will come out of that.
How do you make a community like Southport safe again, in terms of those affected by this will carry the weight of what happened for the rest of their lives, the community wanting to get back to normal. But it is one of the perhaps unanswerable questions in all of this, in terms of a random attack, you know, somebody known to authorities, multiple agencies, multiple times. Still, he wasn't able to be stopped. And that is possibly the most difficult thing to take away from all of this.
Well, you know, I've been up to Southport obviously numerous times, and I've spoken to a number of residents and the different groups. And I will say Southport is an incredible community. It's very resilient, very strong. It has done a brilliant job of wrapping its arms around the families and everybody who has been affected by this. And as I say, in terms of getting the answers to those questions, hopefully the inquiry will give them that reassurance around what, you know, how things might be done differently. We have been working very hard to make sure that support is in place for the communities of Southport. We recognise that the trauma that, you know, lots of different people will be feeling. Our victim care Merseyside service has been proactively going out and making themselves available to the Southport community, and they continue to be available for anyone who might be affected by what's going on. I am really keen to make sure that we support Southport to move forward on that journey of recovery and hopefully, you know, as I say, take that step forward. So, you know, this isn't the legacy of Southport, but they're able to get back to what they're doing and be a brilliant and vibrant community for all of their local residents.
Emily Spurrell, thank you so much for your time.